Sending data. So I believe we're live. Rebecca Bitter. Um, I'm go- well, I'm going to just verify. Yeah. So it says yeah. So I think. Hold on. I hate this because the very beginning of all of these sessions, you are always wondering. Yes, I am live. So we're live on LinkedIn. We're live on
Awesome.
Facebook, and we're live on YouTube. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Excited to chit chat.
Yes, we're going to talk about and you taught me just now. I never even knew this was able, but my Alexa is muted and she's red over there on the table. So
Perfect.
thank you. And hopefully everybody else. So while we're doing this, I just want to let everybody know that you can go over to your Alexa and press a button. She'll turn red and she's muted so that she's not going to respond. She's not listening to you because we're going to say that word, that name multiple times today. And
So those that watching might need to go mute their Alexas or their voice dimmers if they have those.
that's right. That's right. So mute those Alexas out there, please, and everybody, everything will be hunky dory. So, and I believe, see the chat over here, Rebecca. So that's I should be able to see all the chats coming in from all three platforms that we're on. I'm not sure how many people
Great.
we'll get, but we'll get somebody.
Awesome.
Well, Rebecca, why don't you do me a favor and just give us your background and help us understand, sort of how you got to where you're at and what you do for Eaton.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start way back when. So I attended the University of Florida and I studied industrial and systems engineering. So my engineering background, led me to Eaton, and I joined Eaton's leadership development program. And through that program, I had a lot of manufacturing experience. I was working in a lot of our, plants in the South Carolina area and then the Texas region. And then that led me to my last role, which was in marketing, with our residential team. And then, after being in the marketing world for a little while, I realized product management was something that kind of sparked my eye and sparked my attention to kind of be at the beginning of product development, with the engineering teams and all the other teams. So that led me to this associate product manager role, which I've been in for almost 2 years now. And it's really exciting products because there's a ton of different electrical products, but the products I manage are products that everyone uses every day and they might not even think about. So
Yeah.
you have your dimmers, your light switches, and then the fun ones. So the ones that talk to Alexa, or you can tell Alexa to turn on and off, and the ones that create someone's smart home and really add to a smart home.
Yeah. And you know what? When I was in residential, I don't know how many years I did that. And I was product manager for AFCIs and GFCIs. And what I loved about that product line was market research was like going down to the supply house, right?
Yeah.
Or going to Home Depot, or if you're in Walmart or wherever you're at, where they have some of our devices. It's just interesting because you're very close to the homeowner, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I get my, tons of VOC by just asking my fellow peers and my fellow Eaton employees. Everyone's a homeowner, and they
Yep.
have their opinions on smart home products and, what things they'd find interesting or exciting to use. So, yeah, definitely. It's nice to kind of touch things that, anyone could be your customer.
Right. And then, because you're so close to the end user, you have a lot more probably attention to the color of the device, the look and feel of the device, right? Because I remember when we moved into a new home, my wife painted the house, and then we were like, now all of those receptacles and light switch covers all stuck out like a sore thumb. So I changed the covers, but then the receptacles were still like either white or off. What are the colors again? I mean, there's white, there's beige, and I don't know. There's
Yeah. So we have our typical colors are, white and light almond, but then in some of our devices, you even get like metallic colors, which are more for, kitchens and bathrooms, so they match the decor. But our voice dimmer, it's because it has the microphones inside and the speaker built in. We spent a lot of time on the industrial design of that product, and we'll everyone will get to see it soon enough if they haven't already. But it's really sleek, and it's meant to really stand out. Like, you want it to blend into the home and kind of be invisible in the walls, but it is unique, and it should stand out more than a standard switch or a receptacle.
Yeah, and like this picture that we have here is your flagship right now that that stimulated this discussion, and I see it has a little blue strip at the bottom that probably changes color, and we'll probably talk about that as we go
Yeah.
along. But in many cases, these devices, they do have to blend a little bit, because in some cases you don't want those things, especially if you have somebody who's really paying attention to color, etc. But I know that's a concern. I know it's a challenge from a product management perspective to meet everybody's needs, so you sort of have to walk a fine line there. But
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And it does fit, like a decorator wall plate. So it
Yep.
can replace, an existing dimmer without too much, having to rebuy wall plates
do
or
you do you make wall plates?
we do make wall plates, and we make the most beautiful screwless wall plates, which really,
Cool.
not having those screws shown, it really elevates a home and enhances the look.
Oh yeah. So like that wall plate there is there's no screws showing. I mean that I know, like when we do ours around the house, there's always those two dots that are like in the middle of a very pretty cover plate. And
Yeah.
to be able to so what do you do? Just slap those, they press on, or what?
Yeah. So the wall plate actually has two pieces. So the first piece gets screwed onto the wall, and it has the two screws, and then the top piece just snaps on. So, you know,
Nice.
nothing extra for installation. It's just a cleaner look at the end.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you should probably, if you have one of these devices, rarely ever touch it, right?
That's a great point. With Alexa built in, you can basically ask Alexa to control your lights, or ask Alexa the weather. Maybe you want to ask Alexa to play music. You can do so all with this voice dimmer with Alexa built in.
Okay, so David Shapiro asks, we were talking about those cover plates. Is it compatible with the Lutron wall plate snap-ons? Probably not, right?
So it should be compatible with any decorator
Oh,
wall plate. Um, I haven't tried Lutron's wall plate myself to see, but it's basically the same cutout for most residential devices, so it should fit other wall plates.
cool. And Scott Taylor asks, what type of commands does the dimmer recognize and how many? I mean, what's the vocabulary of Alexa?
Yeah, so with Alexa built in, we get the benefit of Alexa's cloud service. So you can ask her, from the weather to, she supports setting timers. A great feature that this product does support is like making announcements. So an example I love to use is, if you have a bunch of these voice dimmers throughout your house, maybe when dinner's ready and you want to announce it to your family, you simply say, Alexa, announce dinner is ready. She essentially records your voice, and then the speaker on the dimmer will play it back through all the other Alexa built-in products in your house. So throughout all the dimmers in your house, or if you have other Alexa built-in products throughout your home, and that announcement kind of will travel to all of those devices as well. So it's I don't have an exact number of the number of commands, but it does support a lot of the features that Alexa built-in devices support.
Okay, so really, That is the only language. That's the only thing Alexa needs to be able to tell me is when dinner is happening because you're done right there. So great
Sold, you're good.
example. I'm done right there. So we've got Felix Sandoval. Felix is Colombia, not Columbia, South Carolina. He's Columbia, South America. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
So we get people who from and when we're going to get to codes and standards stuff too. So I know everybody, I get a lot of people that want to know about codes and standards, but since we're talking about the words and everything, so Felix is in Colombia, and we have people who watch this from Japan and Europe and other locations. Do you have to do anything to address different languages, or is that handled by Alexa?
Yeah, so it's great question. So right now the dimmer does support English, French, and Spanish.
Okay.
Um, and then right now it's obviously in for the Alexa app, it operates in different regions. So you have it operating in the US region, it works in the Canadian region, and then Mexico as well. Um, at this time, I don't know if it works in Colombia, but I know if you are able to like register it through a US region, and then you can always set your language to Spanish if that's your preference.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So you've mentioned this a couple times, and I think I'd love to get into the discussion. You said Alexa built in, and
Yes.
and I have a communication background, not a communication with regard to marketing, but I used to manage the product line for communication hardware and software, which talks to all of our like meters and stuff like that. So I have a background in different protocols and then different like hardwire versus Modbus from a language perspective. So you have your structure, right? So now I have control wireless of various parts and pieces in my house. Okay, so I'll just give you an idea of what I got. I've got this. I've got Amazon Alexa. Okay, I have this thing called Link, which
Hmm.
I bought some hardware that gives me what I was looking for was temperature and humidity in certain
Okay.
parts of my house. And I
Yeah.
was having a very difficult time finding a sensor that gave me humidity and temperature that was wireless, that connected. So I found this stuff and it has its own software that I have to install like on my phone, and then
Hmm.
I guess communicates with these devices, and then somehow, and I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I can tell Alexa to turn things on and off, and she turns things on and off. But I have various layers of software. In fact, I was talking to Ellis Fitzwalter, and he just sent me a note about the Wink hubs and other hubs. And I saw there's a question on here about Google Home instead of Alexa and things like that. So, can you give us a little overview of architecture and how these things go together?
Yeah, absolutely. So, your smart home sounds kind of a mixed match of products.
Hmm.
You have a Echo or an Alexa device
Yes, I do.
for voice control. So, when anyone's kind of setting up their smart home, some people want to go the hub route, and then some want to go a hubless route. So, with our Wi-Fi devices, it enables consumers to go the hubless route, and it's just a little bit easier to get started because that hub or that controller isn't required. Now, Eaton does have our Z-Wave Plus solutions if homeowners want to go the hub route, and integrate with security systems or other Z-Wave Plus devices.
Hmm.
But for those that want, I like to say a simpler solution, going the Wi-Fi or the hubless route is always great. You can get started setting up your home pretty quickly. A lot of people love to start with a thermostat, maybe door locks, and then lighting control is kind of what's next.
Right.
So with the Wi-Fi devices, you mentioned, I forget the name of the manufacturer for your humidity sensor, but You get to download their app, and then you have maybe another app for somebody else. So something unique about the Wi-Fi devices is the only app you need to download to get started is the Amazon Alexa app. And you actually set up and control all the devices all within the Amazon Alexa app. So while it's great for, those that support an Alexa ecosystem and want the voice control with Alexa, obviously there's some consumers that prefer Google and want Google integration, and we are working on that, and that is on our roadmap
Right.
and to be coming soon. But for right now, we do have a really ease of setup with Alexa, and we're minimizing the amount of apps because, like I said, you just have to download the Amazon Alexa app, to get started, and you can set up our dimmers, switches, receptacles, and then our latest, the voice dimmer with Alexa built in. So you can kind of start to design your architecture based on what devices maybe you have already, what devices you want in the future, and our solution helps you get started pretty quickly.
Yeah. So when I was first going down this road, so I'll tell you how I got started. I did a presentation in Tennessee, in
Mhm.
Nashville, and the district manager there, out of saying thank you, gave me a little Alexa Echo Dot.
Yeah.
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 So and I didn't know anything about it. So I bring it home, and I had already purchased. Uh, I wanted to control one light in the house,
Mhm.
and I bought this thing called iHome Control, and and what it does, it plugs into the receptacle, and then I had to install this app on my phone that I can turn the living room light on and off. Okay.
Yeah.
So I and then I get this Echo Dot, and then I had to figure out, how do I connect the dot with,
To
yeah, with the iHome Control, and can they communicate? And they did. I mean,
right.
and there was also another app called If This Then That, IFTT, I think it was, where you could set
Mhm.
up all these different things. So I managed to get those two working. And but when I first started going down that road, I mean, I was trying to figure out, do I need a hub? Don't I need a hub? I love the fact that you don't need a hub. If you can start that way, because here's what happened with me. I had the iHome control for that one light because I was playing
Mhm.
with it and just trying to figure it out, how to, the Z-Wave technology, and I started to learn that every one of these devices has a different platform, and then you have to get all of these different things, and you become like your own little IT just to get it working. You know what I mean? It was frustrating for me, at least. And I'm a technical person, let alone a homeowner who's not, doesn't have the tech. I'm an electrical engineer by training, and you would think that this stuff would be easy, but it really was not that clean. So to have
Yeah.
something that's all in one is, I think, attractive. You know,
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the reason people want, smart home products is to make their lives easier. And
right?
with these devices, setup is pretty quick. While you might want to hire an electrician to install the device, depending on, your level of comfort, the app side of it isn't anything, out of the realm. And especially with the voice dimmer within the Alexa app, it pops up basically to guide you through setup.
So let me ask you. So the other thing I have in my house is a Honeywell. I used to have it was a round thing. I can't remember the name of it, but now I have this Honeywell um,
Hmm.
for environmental control for my HVAC, right? And I know Alexa, my Alexa talks to it, but I, I'm tell you the truth, I don't know if I had to install something separate. Yeah, I did. I had to install a
Yeah,
separate software for the Honeywell system, the thermostat.
yeah. So something that I myself got confused at when I first you start to see all these different logos on products. You might see works with Alexa or works with Hey Google, and then now you're starting to see a lot of Alexa built-in products. And our Eaton
Yeah.
dimmer now has the Alexa built-in logo. So it does get confusing, but the way I like to look at it is basically the ones that say work with Alexa. All that means is that, if you want to add the voice control with Alexa piece, a separate device is required. So you still have to
Okay.
have like an Alexa built-in device. So whether it be an Echo or Echo Dot, you reference some of those. To get the voice control for those devices, you still have to have that piece. Now, any of the products that you might see that say like Alexa built in, since those devices themselves are running the Alexa software, you don't need a separate device for voice
Ah,
control because
okay.
it's built in. So I
Okay.
feel like that's kind of the best way to look at it is, do you want things that just work with Alexa, or do you want, the voice control built in?
Right. And your dimmer switch, I'm just looking, it has this thing on the top. Is that the speaker?
Yes, that's the speaker at the top, and then on the bottom you see like two holes right under the blue bar.
Yeah, hold on. I should be able
Those
to.
are those are the microphones.
Okay. So all those
Yeah,
two dots on either side. Okay.
yeah.
Those are
So
your.
those are the two microphones, ready for your just ask Alexa commands. Um,
Okay.
And then again, it is a dimmer. So you have, the brighten and dim buttons and then the on and off button up top.
Now, technically, I could control a light and not be physically connected to the light from this switch.
Correct. That's the brilliance because with Alexa built in, once you have like let's say you have maybe Eaton's Wi-Fi switch,
Mhm.
that product doesn't have Alexa built into it, but it works with Alexa. So you can ask this dimmer if you need to control, our Wi-Fi switch as well, or other things in your Alexa app in your Alexa ecosystem.
I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of people watching this who are basically going to say, if you need a if you need a beta site for anything that you're working on in the future, you can just mail them out. We could get a very large. Seth O'Brien's volunteering. I'm volunteering. And if
I
you
love
want
it.
Felix Sandoval's down in Colombia, if you want to do something in Spanish, I'm sure he will be your demo site down there too.
Yeah, I love that. So luckily these have launched and they're available, on various through various retail and other channels. But definitely we're always working on new products and getting people in for beta testing is great to get that. Like I said, anyone is your customer, anyone can give you feedback. So um
Absolutely. Now, I will tell you that the discussion point whoop, of going to of being able to control a light that
mhm,
is not physically connected to the equipment. Now, the device that we're looking at, we hardwire, and we'll take a look at the wiring of that. But
yes.
in the 2020 National Electrical Code on panel 2, we had a discussion around what we called a listed wall-mounted control device. So 210.52, this section of the NEC in the 2020 version, we introduced the concept, and I don't even know if I know I didn't share these slides with you before, so this might be the first time you're seeing it as well. So everybody will have that under consideration. But we added listed wall-mounted control device, and the way in my slide decks when I teach about this, I show this where
Yep.
you can communicate directly with the light. And I can't think of the manufacturer. There's what is the Philips, I think, has the Hue or something like that.
Yeah.
They have a so you can control those lights, and then they have these switches, and this is a Halo product, right? Which we used to be a partner with, and they created their own business. I don't know what their new business is called, but in any case, these devices stick to the wall. there's no wires associated with it. And
Yeah.
your product could control the light that's in that room. It could control other lights in that room, because if they're those other products that are connected via Alexa, then the sky's the limit on what you can do with it, right? So we had the challenge of identifying the use of what we call listed wall-mounted control devices.
Yeah.
And so there's controversy around that, because technically, based on the 2020 code, I could have a room with lighting and not have a physical switch. I could just have this thing that sticks on the wall,
Yeah.
and then what happens later. You get a homeowner who comes in and says, I don't like this because it needs this special light fixture, and I changed that out, and now I need a physical wire, and now I don't have any wires there. So I always tell people, yeah, the code permits a listed wall-mounted control device, but pull wires down there, right? And that's why
Yeah.
I like your Alexa, because if you look at those instructions, the way our device is made. I'm just going to call up, if I can find there it is. Where's it at? There's my accessories. I think it's in this document here that has the wiring, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was the spec sheet.
Okay, it's not this one. I lied. It's not that one. Is this it? No, that's the receptacle. There it is. Okay, I think this has it, right?
No, it's the spec sheet for that.
Where's my spec sheet? Hold on. I think
You clicked it first. It was the first thing you clicked.
Oh, was the first one?
Mm-hmm. Or this, yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so
There you go.
yeah, so the way this is wired, this is physically wired in. There's no batteries in here, right? Or is there?
No, there's no battery. So
batteries.
like the ones you were showing earlier is, yeah, battery operated, and just mounted on a wall, like not hardwired, but these products are, hardwired in. While they do, connect to your Wi-Fi and they're wireless in that sense, they're still hardwired to the loads directly.
Okay, and then you obviously you can do 3 ways with this, right?
Yep.
And you can have standard switches. Looks like you could have standard switches mixed in with them.
Yeah. So what's great about, this product and all the products in our Wi-Fi portfolio is, most people aren't going to go and replace their whole house with Wi-Fi outlets or switches. That They certainly can, but most people wouldn't do that. So it's nice that you can mix and match the Wi-Fi product with standard switches, especially for the multi-location control. So if you want 2-location control, so you have dimming at the voice dimmer, and then you just have on and off control at your standard switch. You have that flexibility.
Right. And hey, we got Tamaki Ono, who's out of Japan, on with us. Thanks for joining us. We have Ethiopia on the line.
Wow.
America.
We're global right now. I love
Oh yeah,
it.
we're global. That's the cool thing about this channel. We got Colombia, we have Tokyo, we have Ethiopia.
And I see someone's asking about neutrals. So they actually do require
Yes.
neutrals and neutral wires for installation. So that's the one thing, you do need neutrals.
Yeah. And you know what? There's a code requirement now that requires you to bring that neutral down. And here's the reason. Even if you're not going to have a device, if you just have a regular switch that has a hot, and you're just breaking the hot conductors. So here's what the NEC recognized. What inevitably happens is we decide to put devices like this in place. And if I don't have that neutral installed, what do? Right? What they would typically do in the past is they would use the equipment grounding conductor. And that violates the National Electrical Code. I can't intentionally put current over the equipment grounding conductor, but a lot of these motion sensors, you know, that what do they call those? Where they turn the lights on whenever you walk into a room.
Occupancy sensors, motion sensors.
Yes,
Yep.
those have electronics in them as well, and they require to be powered up. So you
Hmm.
need that neutral. Okay, so what what the code went through a few phases to recognize that people are installing these after the fact, and when they didn't have a neutral, they were using the equipment grounding conductor, which is ungood. That's a technical term. Okay, it's ungood. And then, so they said, look, you know, if you're going to install one of those, you have to pull that neutral. And
Right.
then what the code says was, if you're doing a new installation, you need to pull that neutral, even if you're not going to use it. Okay, to make sure it's there. So that's a good question that C Nile uh, Senile. I love it. Senile. Senile. Get it?
Oh,
It's one of those names. Senile.
it took me a minute.
And I'll tell you what, this is the first time I've had anybody named Senile on this call. I love it. I love it. Scott, yes,
Ungood.
ungood is a technical term. Senile. That's got to be a Philadelphia guy. It has to be.
That's funny.
Any case, so you can mix and match these. Now, another thing I will point out in 210.70, I just recorded this morning on what I'm trying to do on my website is create individual pages for different sections of the code. And
Yeah.
210.70 talks about when you have lighting outlet, say you have lighting serving a set of stairs.
Mhm.
And you know, Rebecca, how if you had a dimmer at the top of the stairs,
Mhm.
but not one at the bottom, if I dimmed it all the ways down at the top because it was in the morning and light was coming out and somebody left the light on, and instead of hitting the off, I just dimmed it down. When I
Mhm.
turned the light switch on at the bottom of the steps, it would never come on because it would be dimmed at the top of the steps. So the code changed in the 17 cycle. No, in the 2020 cycle to say you if you're going to put a dimmer at the top of the steps, you also have to put one at the bottom of the steps, and they both have to have full control.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. Now though, this product brings up a different question though.
You could
Because
just add one at the top of the stairs.
exactly. So if you had Alexa at the top of the stairs, all I have to do is say, Alexa, light the stairs, and boom, the stair lights turn on. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but the code wouldn't permit that because if you use this, so this could be an opportunity for a code change to say if that device, um, well, I could put this into sleep mode too, though.
Yeah, like if it's muted.
Yeah,
Yeah, like yeah.
and you.
There's ways that it might not, or like God forbid your Wi-Fi goes out.
Oh, that's another
Um,
question for you. Okay, so let me ask you this question. So I have this. I have this. So remember, I told you I had the one product which was called eWeLink. I
yeah.
got the other one, which is the iHome Control, which was this single plug unit. Here's what
Mhm.
happens every now and then. I'll say, Alexa, turn the light on. And she
Mhm.
knows it's that light and I don't have to say light one or anything like that.
It's named whatever
Yeah.
you're
And I just
saying.
call it the light. So every now and then it just says, device is not communicating. And I have to physically go and unplug it and replug it in. I don't have to do that with your device, right?
Oh, interesting. No, so like our device basically if you have a power outage, let's say,
Yep.
and your obviously your power's out, so your Wi-Fi router is not, not working anymore. Once power comes back, the Wi-Fi will reconnect and the voice dimmer will automatically reconnect back to Wi-Fi.
Hmm.
And one of our settings, you can actually, pre-configure what you want the dimmer to come back as. So, like after the power outage, if you want it to always be off, you can set that. If you want it to come back on, you can set that. And then you can also set, like, if you want it to come back in its previous state. So like if the power went off and it was on, it'll come back on, and then vice versa. If it's off and the went um power goes out, it'll come back off. So yeah, but it should reconnect automatically to Wi-Fi, and
Yeah.
really create no issue. And then you can always, people always forget, you can also control it manually as well. So you can go back to like a traditional way and can always walk over and and turn the lights on and off once obviously power is back.
Yeah. These little up and down arrow buttons are actually physical buttons. You just press to increase
Yeah,
the light and decrease the light. Okay. Well, that's a
exactly.
good thing to know. And if you press the center button, that turns it on and off?
Yep. Center button turns it on and off. Then you have the brighten and dim. And then below, so those two buttons are obviously new to, Eaton. We don't typically use those on our products, but since this is an Alexa built-in product, you have on the mute button or the privacy button
Yes.
you learned about today.
That's right,
And
because it was the same symbol. In fact, when I looked at my
uh,
Alexa, I'm looking at the top and I'm like, which one of these is the mute? And I just took a guess that it was the one with the slash through it.
yep, that's kind of the idea of those icons. They should be pretty intuitive, but so that's your mute button, and when you press that, that little LED indicator bar above those buttons turns red, and that basically shows that both those microphones are muted. And then when you're ready to, ask Alexa things again, you can always unmute. And then the button next to it, which is just that circle, so that's our Just Ask Alexa button. So if you don't want to say Alexa and then your request, you can actually just press that button and start saying your request. So
Ah,
sometimes people, like, if there's maybe really loud music playing and you keep saying Alexa, Alexa, and maybe for whatever reason the device can't hear you, you can always press it and then start your request.
that's pretty. Now, if I have the Alexa app on my phone,
Hmm.
I don't need to go to that. I could just talk into my phone, right?
Yeah, so the within the Alexa app too, it has a similar icon, and you can do voice control through the Alexa app as well. Totally kind of a preference, but something else that's pretty cool is that, if you have this voice dimmer and maybe you have some other Alexa built-in products in your house, like whichever one you're closer to and you say Alexa, that's the device that'll pick up the request. So you don't have to worry about like all your Alexas coming alive and talking to you at that point.
Gotcha.
Whichever one is, senses that you're closer, will take the request. Or if you're asking it the weather, we'll tell you the weather, whatever
Right.
it is. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And this would integrate, like, if I, like, in my house I have the Echo Dots downstairs. I got 3 in my house now. One in the basement, one in the living room, and one in the bedroom. And my one in the living room is right in front of the TV, so we're constantly yelling at it because I gotta mute the TV for it to hear me.
Yeah.
But this would work in concert with all of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I assign it what room in the house I'm in?
Yeah, so all within the app, you can, add it to like an area, or you can group devices, and then you can create schedules or routines. But before you get into that level of the app, let's maybe show them how easy it is to set up.
Yeah, let's do that. So, should I
Yeah.
just play this video and you walk us through it?
Yeah, what's great. So this is obviously assuming you've downloaded the app and you've opened it.
And this
And
is
then yeah,
this is the standard Alexa app. This isn't an Eaton app, right?
correct. This is the Amazon Alexa app. Correct. So you open it, and then what's great, when you're ready to install your voice dimmer, you should get a pop up and you can see the products there. You just hit continue. It also goes through steps for if there's any reason the pop up doesn't appear, but they're pretty intuitive. You add the device, you look for a switch, you look for Eaton as the brand, and then you're going to start connecting your Eaton switch to Alexa. You need to make sure Bluetooth is turned on your phone.
Okay, so and obviously since it's wired in, I've already installed it and it's powered up.
Yes,
Do I have
yes.
to do I have to press anything on the on the light switch itself?
So that's a great question. So once you've installed it and power is, at the dimmer, you should see it go, the LED indicator bar starts to go orange,
Yeah.
and it starts to kind of blink an orange color. And, in our other product installation videos, you can watch that as well, but it blinks that orange color and it talks to you. So the great thing about this product
Oh,
is obviously it can talk to you. So, most of the times it'll tell you your dimmer is ready for setup. Maybe if there's a firmware update that it has to install, it'll also tell you, we're installing an important update, and then it'll turn green when that update is done and go back to orange to be set up. So it really walks you through, what it's doing, and kind of helps you through.
all right. So every now and then I have one of those moments where you go, squirrel. Okay. And so I just had a squirrel moment because I was
Yeah.
talking to somebody today. Can't think of his name now. But anyway, we were talking about standards.
Hmm.
And I asked the question, and I'm going to say back in the day, but it probably wasn't that long ago. I've had
Okay.
questions where we talked about dimmer switches being compatible with fluorescence and LED lighting. And I know before I had
Hmm.
to buy, when I bought a product, um, I had to, like, I installed, it wasn't a dimmer switch. It was a motion room. It was in our basement in our old house in the laundry area. I wanted so that when we walked in, it turned the lights on, and then you picked up the clothes because your hands are always full, right? And then you
Yeah.
walk out and not have to flip the switch, would automatically would shut off. And when I
Yeah.
turned it on, man, I'll tell you what, it looked like it was a disco hall because the lights were
The
flickering.
flicker.
Yeah, and it was a compatibility thing going on with the fluorescent lighting. So what I learned in my discussion this morning was that these dimmer switches don't have that historical issue with regard to compatibility with lights. Okay. So it's not like you have to say, this is an LED light or this is a certain compact fluorescent. So I need to get the light switch or the dimmer switch that's compatible. These have all of those built in. And what you just said, which was my squirrel moment, um, you were saying that you can update firmware remotely. So if there's something that's modified or something that changes on these devices, I'm told that we can update that firmware remotely through these applications and stuff like that. Because as long as it's a firmware issue and not a physical change to a chip or anything like that, we can do a lot remotely.
Right. And what's great is, like, it's not like when your phone needs an update and you have to press update. The devices know to do it themselves. If there's, like, any bugs that are fixed or just to enhance the performance of the device, and we push a firmware update, the device knows when to go and get it and kind of complete that behind the scenes to not interfere with, interaction or asking it to do something. So
Yeah,
it's being connected to Wi-Fi really makes things like this super easy, because they're just pulling updates automatically, over the air updates, no need to manually send updates, or they shouldn't even know about it. It's pretty seamless.
absolutely. I love that. And Felix asked a question, which I think I know the answer. And you can, Rebecca, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Felix says, "What if somebody in your house is named Alexa?" Right?
They
So
got to.
you can change. Well, they've got to change that. Well, that's right. There's legal documents they can file to change it. No, from
No.
what I understand, you can have Alexa respond to a different name.
Yes,
That's
exactly. You can change. So some people change it to, like, Echo, some people change it to, you know whatever they
their
want, but
mother-in-law's name.
you can. Yeah. Yeah, that might not be your best choice,
That
but
might not be your best
but
choice.
some people change it. So no worries if you happen to have Alexa as your name.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I just wanted to clear up that discussion because I know on my channel we've talked about lighting and compatibility and like circuit breaker technologies and things like that. But the dimmer switches have come up in the past in my discussions with regard to compatibility with compact fluorescents and things like that, which this doesn't have.
Ye-
It's not like you have different catalog numbers for the type of light you're serving.
No, correct. So this is what we call a universal dimmer, and it does work with, dimmable LEDs, CFLs, fluorescent, incandescent. But again, compatibility with LEDs is kind of an ongoing um, you know, thing that we're testing. So
Mhm.
there is a chance that maybe there is this, if you have an older LED or something like that, maybe there's a slight flicker. But we've tested with, a ton of different lighting
Yeah.
loads and popular lighting loads. So yeah, compatibility shouldn't be an issue. And then
Mm.
the dimmer itself also has different features like trim level. So certain LEDs, they might flicker in the really, really um, low end levels. So you can actually adjust the trim level,
Oh,
kind of eliminate that flickering yourself.
cool. Cool. All right. So now that we've done all that, the
Mhm.
device is powered up. There's no learn. It comes up in an amber, you said, right?
Yeah, I say orange, but it's,
Orange.
orange, amber. It's the color is debatable.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, and so this has, you've opened up the app and we're walking through finding the device. So you selected Eaton. I'm just going to go back through here real quick.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of stopped mid
Yeah, I did. So
installation.
we're in the app. We select the switch.
Yeah. And that's if the pop-up doesn't happen. So if the pop-up happens, then you don't even have to worry about this part.
Oh, because it'll tell you it's there.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly. The pop-up happens, like Eaton is pre-selected, all of this is pre-selected.
gotcha.
And it really brings you to this screen. And then you just want to make sure Bluetooth is turned on your phone, because that's how the device first connects to your phone to, type in your Wi-Fi credentials,
So I'll sh-
the Wi-Fi.
so I'll have to be close to this device. I'll be like in front of it.
Yeah, I mean, Bluetooth, has pretty good range, but yeah, you're gonna want to
Okay.
be, within maybe a couple feet of the device while you're installing.
I don't want to be downstairs while the
You
dimmer's
don't want to
upstairs.
be, yeah, exactly, exactly. And plus, you want to be there so you can hear it tell you what it's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Oh,
and so
there. Look, that's
that's
cool.
the orange light that or amber um, that's important to see.
And that's telling you it's waiting to be connected.
Hmm.
And why are they? Why are we circling?
So yeah, that's a great question. So if let's say you've installed the dimmer and then maybe you walked away for an hour and then you came back and you said, "Oh, I'm ready to set it up now." Maybe essentially like if that light's not flashing, if you just press that button, it'll start flashing again so it can search
Wi-Fi
for your Wi-Fi, right?
or Bluetooth.
Or your phone and start connecting, correct.
Cool.
That kind of shows that the process is starting. Then it looks for your product, then you add it to your Wi-Fi network, you type in your Wi-Fi password and it connects and then you're connected.
And that's
You can add
it.
groups. Yep. Add it to groups. You can, change the name of it. Um, and then you're basically good to go.
That's pretty cool. And then you can and how is the speaker on it?
Yeah. So I mean, the speaker is a pretty premium sound. Like obviously it's not like you're installing surround sound with a dimmer, but you can ask it the weather and everything like that. Alexa's voice is very clear. We had to pass Amazon certifications um to get the Alexa built-in badge. So the speaker meets all those requirements. And then to play music, you can hear the song pretty clear. And again, you're not gonna, be having surround sound through your dimmer
Right.
speaker, but especially for voice requests and Alexa's voice to come back at you, it's extremely clear and really, really good quality, in my opinion.
Yeah. So and you could possibly have remote speaker systems that work with Alexa that are not that are just standard products that you can connect and have it play to those other speakers.
Right. Like something great is that, maybe this is the one that's taking the request, but maybe you have, a nice Sonos speaker in your home. And that's the one that, you'd kind of select as your speaker of choice to play,
A,
whatever
s-
the
a
request was.
Sonos speaker. I never heard of that brand.
Oh, really? Oh, well, maybe
Sono?
it's a popular brand. I don't know.
I'm not, I'm not a big I have my two monitors here that I have for my little system when I play my guitar
Yeah.
and stuff, but when it comes to like surround sound and stuff like that,
Yeah, it's really personal preference. Like, I'm similar to you. I will listen to music out of a cell phone. Like,
yeah.
I'm not picky. So,
Uh,
depending on your level of, um, pickiness, I guess I should say, but
yep.
you can always integrate it with those more premium surround sound speakers.
That's cool. So you're showing a lineup here of we have controllable receptacles too.
Yes.
And how do they so the receptacle doesn't have Alexa in it, but it can still connect. How do they connect? Is it Zigbee? What is it?
So yeah, so this everything you see on that slide you're showing are all Wi-Fi devices. So that receptacle, just like the dimmer, connects to your Wi-Fi. And you can control it within the Amazon Alexa app and create routines and groups and all that good stuff. Make your floor lamps come on automatically. And now, if you want to ask Alexa to make those floor lamps or whatever you have plugged into those receptacles, you will need to use any Alexa built-in device. So it could be the Eaton dimmer, it could be an Echo Dot, um, or you can use voice control within the Amazon Alexa app. But if you want to just outright speak to Alexa and ask the outlet to do something, using an Alexa built-in device allows you to do that.
Okay. So um L Teresi has a question that he says these devices are constantly on and they draw power, right? So is there power consumption cost? So and we used to call these to his point they called them phantom power because like computers
Uh,
even though they're not on they're still drawing power. So do you have any feel for their consumption?
Um, I don't have like a report to share with him or something on power consumption, but these devices are made for energy efficiency standards, especially the dimmers and switches, because you can turn off the light, and that's really what is taking up probably the majority of your electricity or power. So, um, yeah, I don't have any measurements on phantom power, but um, they're built at the core for energy efficiency. Yes, comfort and convenience, but you can also turn dim lights and turn lights on and off. Not forget lights left on, so you can save on your electricity that way.
So that's another good point and you brought this up to me that these devices are built with is it well ASHRAE 90.1 but the energy codes, right? So
Yeah, so the dimmers are actually compliant with what's called the
title.
Cal Title 24 building energy efficiency standards. Um, and that we have a whole like residential brochure to show you kind of what Eaton products fit into that standard. And again, it's just a standard to promote energy efficiency and reducing energy. And obviously, dimmers, non-connected dimmers do that already, but connected dimmers only add to that. And then you have the connected switches as well to help reduce that energy usage.
Yep. So to Al's point, Al's saying, "Hey, these have phantom power," and that's true. But to your
Mhm.
point, because they can, I was talking to Ellis Fitzwalter over here on the side as well. We're communicating in a different area. I love this whole aspect, but he was bringing up the concept of being able to turn lights on and off based upon like time of day and knowing what time of day it is based upon what part of the country you're in as well. So there are it, the significant load that you're turning off is much more power consuming than the load of the actual wiring device itself
Right. Right. Exactly.
because you're just powering an LED. and probably a micro that just has to listen. So it's not it, you're not pulling amps, you're pulling milliamps or whatnot.
Right, exactly. It's pretty minimal, and again, the benefit is the load you're actually turning off.
Right. Um, okay, I'm just looking at any questions I've got like a couple locations. I'm looking at I've unfortunately a lot of sometimes people don't like to chat and they'll send me like
You get private chat.
I get private chats like instant messages and at one point I was getting texts on a different call. So I got to check my text too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
look, I'm getting emails now on Sonos. So
oh man, installing the wrong thing. Installing the
I'm
wrong
loving it. So I'm learning. This is what I love about this about having these dialogues is, I've never heard of Sonos and and but I never heard of the Echo Dot until I did that presentation down in Tennessee
yeah,
and he gave me one. The district manager gave me one and I brought it home and my wife was like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but we're going to figure this out." And I tell you what,
yeah.
I remember when I first set up the light to turn on and off. I bought and because it was right there, I plugged it in right next to my um I have a light like sitting next to my chair. So I
Mhm.
plugged that light into it so that I could turn it on and off as I'm trying to control it. And Bobby Joe's sitting on the couch and she's watching me and she goes, "Oh my God, you've got to be the laziest person I've ever seen." And I'm like, "No, no, no, it's not for this light. It's for a different light, but I'm just
Yeah,
trying to figure
you're
it
just
out."
making sure it works.
Yeah. She's like, "You are so lazy." But in any case, so L3C, Sonos is a whole house speaker system. Joe Bellantoni, thanks for dialing in, buddy. We already talked about Alexa with the same name. Simple answers to a dimmer to a smart communicating dimmer. What's next? Where's technology going? That's exactly right. So, what is next? I mean,
Gosh,
where do you think we're going next with all this stuff?
great question. I mean, next, hopefully, I think the key is that, there's confusion. There's all these apps, there's all these protocols, all these technologies for consumers. It's hard to know, what works with what. So I hope next and eventually we get to a stage where, whether you're buying an Eaton dimmer or, another product like a door lock or a thermostat, everything works together and, again, makes it easier for a consumer or a homeowner to create a smart home, and everything working together with one app or one, platform. Just again, making lives easier and then, eventually hopefully saving energy um and reducing energy costs.
Yeah. And so Gustavo Sanchez says, "Can I program my exterior lights similar to a timer to turn on and off based on time with these switches?" And so I'll tell you what, Rebecca, what I did. I used to have in this house, I
Uh-huh.
had those metal boxes that had the big yellow dial inside. I can't think of the name. They still
Oh
make them.
yeah.
Okay. And I
Yeah.
had two of those. And
For your floodlights or your
yeah,
outside.
and what I had to do whenever we had the change of times and stuff like that, I had to go downstairs. I had to change that dial to get it to work right. It was a real pain in the rear end. So then
Mhm.
I changed it out with these SOCOM things. I can't even think of the name of it. But now I can control it. And if I just did this receptacle instead of these other third, so that's the other thing I'm dealing with. I have a I have a device that's wired in series with my receptacle. Okay, yeah.
Or if you just, like especially in Gustavo's case, like for your front lights, there's going to probably be switches that are controlling those lights. So if you just replace those switches with our Wi-Fi switches, then you can, create those schedules, and when time changes come, you don't have to fuss about that and have your lights shining bright when it's still light outside. But
And
um
I don't need the Alexa switch to do that. I could use one of the other ones.
right, because at that point you don't really need voice control. You'd more just want to set a schedule, um to control those outside lights, and for security too, like when you're on vacation, maybe you want to make sure those lights are coming on and off.
Yes.
and maybe some inside lights too. So maybe you have some lamps plugged into the receptacle, so you can set those and add to the security and kind of make it look like someone's there.
Yeah. So there was another thing and you brought up the security aspect because one of the first remotely accessible things that I got from my house was a camera, one of those
Mhm.
drop cam things, right? So because I had a house when I moved down to St. Louis, I had this house up here and I had a house in St. Louis, and we had cameras down there and I had cameras up here. Now, what I learned was, and that's when I got this if this then that app.
Yeah.
Because what you can do, Gustavo, is you could sit down and say, for example, if you get the front door or you get something happen in one area, you can say, turn this on or do something else. So you can get pretty sophisticated to where if I had, like, say, I had a motion detector outside, like one of those motion lights that turns on and off,
Yeah.
if I could figure out a way to sense that, I could
Hmm.
say, turn all the lights on in the house when I get this sensor. Or if a door opens, because they have these sensors now that you can put on a door, that motion detector, and they communicate. You can bring that into Alexa, and then you can say, hey, if that turns on, then do this. So
Yeah.
I think that the sky is the limit when it comes to home automation.
Yeah. It's definitely, you can start small, but you can keep adding and adding and eventually have a whole system.
And here's my recommendation. I have a smaller system, right? But
Hmm.
I have one device on this iHome control. I have three Echo Dots, okay, and I have these SOCOM things that give me the humidity and temperature, and I can turn things on and off.
Hmm.
Right now, if I had to reconstruct that, I
You would probably change a little bit.
yeah, because I would change the architecture, but I don't know if I could get everything working the way I have it right now because it's so disjointed.
Yeah.
That's I think from a future perspective, to your point, the simplicity is got to be where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
otherwise, I mean, it's got to be so. I'm an Apple fan, and the reason
Me
I
too.
love I love Apple products because they are just easy. You know,
Yeah.
I remember I had to replace I had a wireless router, I had a regular router, and I had to replace all that because they died eventually. And I went to
Hmm.
the Apple store and I bought this. It had a router installed. It had they called it a historian where it backs up my computer. And I told my wife, I said, okay, Saturday morning, I'm getting up. I'm gonna make a pot of coffee. I'm gonna have some breakfast, and then today is going to be wireless day because normally that's how long it took.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah. No.
just started
Must
up.
be the.
Yeah, it was so complicated in the past, but it just started up, everything found itself, and then I was up and running. And I think that's where you made the point earlier, when you plugged it in, when you open the app, it'll probably tell you, "Hey, you have an Eaton device,"
Yeah.
and just add it to the system. That's the way I think it's got to work.
Yeah. Exactly. The easier and the more user friendly. Basically, it just makes there's kind of no limit at that point.
We got Moises Fuentes. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo está esta muchacha? I know the español. Good to see you, Moises Fuentes. Thanks for joining us. Gustavo Sanchez, and we got David Shapiro. He says, is there a way to block outside access so that users have to actively permit the push updates to make these more hack resistant? This way, they could confirm with Eaton that it was necessary to open access. So he's talking more of the security, and you and I talked a little bit about that because there's always that concern is Alexa listening right now? What is she recording? Can somebody else get in remotely and things like that? So what can you tell us about security?
Yeah, so I'll kind of tackle his first concern about I guess others maybe hacking into his lighting system or lighting control. And these devices, they've all been through, Eaton's very rigorous cybersecurity testing and cybersecurity labs. to prevent the ability of, being able to hack into someone's system. And then on the other side of things, where, Alexa may be listening, or things like that, you do have the ability to mute the devices. So maybe if there's something you don't want Alexa to hear, or, maybe you want to mute it so that, you're on a live and you don't want Alexa to start talking when you say their name. So there's that added, kind of privacy mode, or security. But with today's ever changing world, security is something that we always have to be concerned about. But we're these products and future products will always be certified in our cybersecurity labs, and UL listed, and all the
Yeah.
proper channels.
And I know Eaton's right at the front from the cybersecurity perspective, and that was again a discussion at Code Panels, Code Panel
Yeah.
1, Code Panel 10, Code Panel 13. They were all reviewing cybersecurity public inputs from UL, Schneider, and a few others. And I know that was a point of discussion. So cybersecurity is right there in the forefront. All of these have that same concern. But here's the thing,
Yeah.
Rebecca, I think understanding how these work to the point of your point of that mute button, which I didn't even know existed on that thing, right? I don't read instructions, right? I just get it and run and hope it works. But
Right.
but I had my the other part of all of this is from a cybersecurity perspective, we can do a lot on our side,
Yeah. I mean,
but
smart, ourselves.
but the user also plays a role in cybersecurity because
Right.
I'll give an example. My aunt bought an Apple computer, okay, and I helped her pick it out because she was trying to she wanted to get away from a desktop. We went to the store, walked through, picked out a computer. She had never had an Apple product before. Okay, never had an Apple product, didn't even have an iPhone, anything like that. We bring the computer home on Saturday
Hmm.
and I set it up for her. I put the wireless Ethernet hub downstairs. She had a wireless going, and I went home. I didn't hear from her on Sunday, and I know she's playing with it, and she'd never had an Apple product. You know how it can be a little different than a Microsoft world, right?
Right. Getting used to it.
Yep. Monday, she called me. It was a holiday on Monday. She called the house, and she was talking to my wife, and Bobby Joe's like, and I'm hearing the conversation third hand, right? So I hear, "Oh, how's it going? Oh, really? Oh, no, you're kidding me. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that." I'm like, "Well, what the heck happened?" And she told me, she goes, she has a virus on her computer. I'm like, "It's an Apple product." I mean,
Yeah, that's
I,
not
the,
supposed to happen.
I said, "How does she know she had an Apple product?" She goes, "Well, Apple called her, technical support called her and told her she had a
Oh,
virus." And I'm like,
what did
"Oh
she
my."
work on?
And she bought into that because she had never experienced it. She never had an Apple product before. First brought it
Uh,
home. It was a hacker who got
okay, called
security
her.
codes
Okay.
because he's like, "We're going to help you," and then she didn't know how to shut it off. So
Oh
I drove
no.
over there and then I killed the wireless, and then boom,
Yeah,
they lost access
just
to the
broke
computer.
it. Yeah.
But she didn't know. She wasn't sure because unsure of all that. So
Yeah.
understanding those little details, like if you have that concern on how to disconnect from the outside world, is an important part. So either you kill, like if it's a light switch, obviously you say I can't kill power to that, but you can always just shut your internet down. If you have something going on, or you say, "Oh my gosh, I'm concerned about this," or something just happened, you
Yeah.
kill wireless to it, and now nothing's communicating to it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but I think a big percentage of the cybersecurity issues are on this side of the firewall from guys
Right.
like me, who
Yeah.
answering those phone calls and saying, "Oh, I do," and then giving them information, and then next thing you know,
Yeah.
and there's nothing you could do as a product, nor I can do to stop that.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I mean, we can, you know, create the most secure products, but at the end of the day, everyone has to kind of
Yeah,
be smart, and make sure they're keeping their apps protected with passwords,
yeah,
and all that good stuff.
yeah. So we have to be our own firewall, so to speak.
Yeah.
It starts with us in a lot of cases. All right, so we talked about the standard, and these are just listed to if it's a dimmer, it's listed to UL 1472. If it's a receptacle controlled, it's UL 244A, and then B was added. I don't think B ever came to the table. I think it's still an outline. I know there is a UL 498B, which is, I think it's 498B, which deals with wireless controlled receptacles, which is still an outline of investigation, if I'm not mistaken. I think. And I think that has to do with ASHRAE 90.1. So there's still, I think there's standards around the wireless communication. Obviously, the hardware, if it's a receptacle, it's listed to the receptacle standards, and it's installed like a receptacle per the National Electrical Code. We've got recognition for the wireless. We've got recognition that if you have dimmers on stairs in 210.70, you have to have it on both levels. We don't really address, to our point, the Alexa type of, or the communication verbal, but there might be some opportunities there.
Yeah.
We talked about installation. You have to bring that neutral. That's an important part. Talked about the safety role, being able to
Yeah.
turn your lights on externally, internally, and doing the if this then that type of thing, where you can, if you have a sensor that says, hey, somebody just opened a door, or a motion detector went off where it shouldn't have gone off, you can actually say, hey, if that thing goes off, turn every light in the house on. And then everybody knows there's something going on, right?
Right.
Configure. We talked about the configuration, and it's really easy.
Yeah.
What
For
else?
the
What am I
setup.
missing? What's your
I think.
relationship with Arrowheart?
Oh, so the connected line, it doesn't really have any play in Arrowheart. So Arrowheart, is Eaton's brand name that's been around for 130 years, but that's more for commercial and industrial products.
That's right.
So yeah, so these products aren't, they're all residential, pretty much. But yeah, for if you should definitely check out the Arrowheart line. That's a very well name brand for our commercial and industrial products.
Uh-oh. Al says he lost sound.
Oh no, Al.
Al, you got to get it back, buddy.
We're
But he
talking
did,
about.
because we're going to answer his question. We're answering your question. Hey, we're answering your question. It only comes, he asked about it. You always need a neutral.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have an existing lighting outlet switch that just has the hot and the equipment grounding conductor, you need to pull a neutral for this product, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
So you need
Required.
to pull a neutral. So just want to make sure he knows that. Oh, he's on LinkedIn. And the funny thing about this is, for LinkedIn, I actually need to be on the system.
Oh, for it.
Yeah, for me to type in a response. So I am going to do that. I gotta mute this. Okay. So Al, you need to pull a neutral. So no using the EGC. So I just want to make sure that he got that.
Yeah, he got it.
And I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss any questions. We have evolved from Simple Light, Scott Taylor. I don't know how many. Okay, so all right. So it looks like we've got all those questions. Need to pull the neutral. Told everybody on YouTube. And I just checked. I got sound on my LinkedIn, so that's good. And there's a slight delay. Joe Bellantoni, can the receptacle split wire so half is controlled and the other is constant power?
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi receptacle, one outlet is for normal use, so it's constantly powered, And then the other outlet is the controllable one. So they're not both controlled, they're not separately controlled. One is the controllable, and then the other one is like a normal for normal use, power always on. Yeah,
Okay. And now, do we
great.
have you? Do you have the symbol on there?
Yeah, so you'll see the side that's controlled, actually the word is written out controlled. And regardless of, if it's ground down or ground up, I know that's always a interesting debate, but um, either way, you can see it. It's written both directions, so it's
Yep.
it's always clear.
There it is. There, and it's got the symbol in the bottom left. So on
Yeah,
this one here, it's the bottom one that's controlled, not the top one.
correct,
Nice. Nice. And
correct.
I like the fact that it's blended in. It's not like big black letters where it sticks out like a
Yeah,
sore thumb.
exactly.
Yep. And then there's an LED on that. That just tells you it's powered, or what's the button in the middle?
Yes. So the button in the middle is just an on and off button for the controllable outlet. And then the LED indicator. So, we talked about the voice dimmer, talking to you, and that LED indicator bar turning different colors. But in the case of the Wi-Fi devices, the receptacle and the switch have those smaller LED indicators, and basically, when they're solid, they're powered up and installed. And then when you're going through the setup in the app process, they're blinking to basically show they're powered but not connected to an app yet, or the internet, the Wi-Fi. Um, and then those are fully adjustable. So there's 5 levels of brightness for those LED indicators, and then you can also, customize them. So if you want, them to be on when your load is on and then turn off when your load is off, or vice versa, that's fully customizable.
That's hilarious. When you said there's 5 levels of brightness, I think, did you ever watch My Cousin Vinny?
No.
Oh man, you got to watch that movie. But he goes
No,
through five. He goes through 5 levels of thickness of the one uh, lady's glasses. But anyway,
uh,
you've got to watch My Cousin Vinny.
word
Sorry.
for it, but yeah, the LED indicators, they're really customizable. And then yeah, for the voice dimmer, yes, you have the LED indicators, you have the voice, and then they go multiple colors, which really helps, the setup and really understanding what the heck is going on with the device as well.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Cool beans. Now, when are they going to provide the markings on the controlled receptacle are not visible to me when I go to full screen? Yeah, the
Yeah, it's hard the picture because that's like a photography image, but it's it's on the receptacle.
hey, I'm gonna look and see. I think I
The
have.
the image on our website, you can probably see it more. There you go.
Yeah,
That's a
but you know
little
what?
bit easier to see.
It's really it's because it's not a very quality image. So on your website, so let's do this.
Yeah, the on the if you go to www.eaton.com/smart home,
Smart home.
yeah, there it is.
Oh,
And
look
then
at this.
if you go to the top and just click on Wi-Fi Smart,
Wi-Fi smart.
yeah, and then you scroll down, keep going down. I'm going to show you the product page.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so pick on the receptacle. There you go. Click learn.
Oh,
Yep,
there it is.
that. And then the last image, or that last bubble, is
Three.
actually a 360 view. So if you click on that last
This over
bubble
here on
on
the
the,
right?
yeah,
The
so it'll
colors?
it'll it'll spill it spin.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool beans.
yeah, so
Look at
that's
that.
yeah. So that way you can see, that has screw terminals, whereas the voice dimmer has the wire leads, so you can really see what you're getting.
Right.
And
And
then you can
there's and
color.
it's a little easier to see where it says controlled, but it still might be hard for
Yeah, on a screen, but it's on the product itself. When it's like in front of you, you'll be able to see it.
yeah, let's do this. I'm like bound and determined here. Um, let me do this. If I do a file new blank and then do a control V, here we go. Oh, here we go. Watch this.
Oh,
And
oh
look,
God.
well, it was turning.
Oh, what happened?
Hold on. Here it
Oh, there
is.
you
Up, 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 up. I lost my presentation. Here it is. These on me. Here, this is what I'll do. You got the
Yeah,
tamper
see.
resistant and you got the controlled right in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's your controlled, and it's got the symbol on the bottom, which I know that's caused a lot of. We used to just have requiring the code for the symbol, and then they said no. A lot of people don't know what that symbol means, so then we had to add the word controlled. And this is
Yep.
tamper resistant,
Yes.
and you got the catalog number.
And they have the like you can't even probably tell because you can't see the shutters. They're the black shutters, so they're invisible essentially. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you're working with these types of products, you're
You
dealing with
gotta they
homeowners and architects who want the colors and yep. And then there's a video on wiring
Yep.
on this website. So you just, what did we type in here? We just went
So,
eaton.com/smart home.
yep. Yep. And that takes you to basically our smart home products. So the Wi-Fi devices and then our Z-Wave Plus products as well. So
And
you
there's
can
those.
find, yeah. And then we've included, kind of accessory products as well. So you can easily navigate to those.
Cool.
Yeah.
And there's all your wireless. Okay. So we talked about the code.
Yeah.
We talked about, somebody here, hold on. There was I don't know if it was Al. Yeah. L Teresi brought up 404.22. 404.22, which says electronic controlled switches. Electronic controlled switches shall be listed, which it's listed. Electronic controlled switches shall not introduce current on the equipment grounding conductor during normal operation. So this is the discussion Al had, or I think it was Al. Yeah, I think Al was saying about existing homes and in using that equipment grounding conductor or you know some older products permitted.
Right.
They anticipated you using the equipment grounding conductor, but
Mhm.
that would violate 404.22. The requirement to not introduce current on the equipment grounding conductor shall take effect January 1st 2020. So there was a staged introduction of this because it wasn't necessarily because of these devices, but it was because of those presence, occupancy, indicator.
Yeah.
Those,
Occupancy. Yep.
yep. There were some manufacturers, and we probably had them as well that did not need the neutral that were wired with the
Yeah.
equipment grounding conductor. But now that's no longer permitted. Now I'll tell you too that uh, the this whole discussion but let me find your presentation because I had this in. No, I didn't put it in your slide. I don't know which slide I put it in, but the 2023 code cycle
Hmm.
is looking at the panel 2 in article 2 in article 210 section 210.52 and 210.70 added the listed wireless controllers. Okay. And somebody, I believe it was, I'm trying to think of who it was. I'll show you what I mean. If I go to NFPA
Hmm.
and I go to next edition and I look at my public inputs and I go to chapter 4 for switches, 404, there was a suggested change, first revision 7889. Specifically says this article does not cover wireless control equipment to which circuit conductors are not connected. So remember that change we did in 210. and where we said
Mhm.
you can have this wireless controller that had battery operated controlling these lights. Somebody made a public input to 404 because the scope of Article 404 talks about the article covers switches, switching devices, and circuit breakers used to switch operating at 1,000 volts and below. And what the public input was from Don Gannier was to add wall-mounted control devices. But the panel resolved that and specifically said, look, we don't cover those because they're not connected to anything.
Right.
But if you look at 404 in the National Electrical Code, 404 covers where you can put switches, the enclosures for switches, the grouping of switches. So if I have a wireless type of device, if I have a device like this, like you're doing, where I can control lights wirelessly, and I'm not connected to them, I still should meet the requirements in 404 when they talk about different type of groupings and things like that. Although I'm not hardwired, locating those devices is critical and important on where they're
Right.
located.
Right. And in our cases, these devices are hardwired too, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's a good point. So,
Yeah. So, but this whole discussion of the wireless stuff and how technology is taking off is something that I think you're going to see moving forward. The code is going to struggle with on how to address it, let alone the standards, right? I mean, you've got the whole concept of cybersecurity. You've got the concepts of the wireless controls and the protocols and the standardization so that these devices communicate with each other, right?
Mhm.
We in my era, whenever we were dealing with communications, we had a protocol called Incom. There were
Mhm.
protocols called Modbus, Conatel 2020. All of these are different. It's like speaking Japanese, Chinese, English, Spanish. And if you have
Right.
5 different people in a room and they all speak a different language, no one's going to communicate with each other, but you need that one person who can translate, right?
Right. Right.
So the universe creating devices that can all communicate, I think, is an important part. Joe Bellantoni says, these new products are well served by the expansion of the surge protection. Oh, there's another concept. So surge expanded in the National Electrical Code, and what we specifically addressed were things like smoke detectors, AFCIs, GFCIs, things like that. But these need surge protection as well. I mean, I'm sure they have surge built into them as well, but with
Right.
with surge, you want to break at the service coming in. You want to break that peak voltage down.
Right. Prior to the second level. Yep.
Exactly. So it's like a stair step because if I hit, I mean, I could have a surge built in, but if I hit it with a nice big waveform, it probably won't do the protection and it won't survive for a very long period of time. So what you want to do is tier your surge protection in your power distribution system. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, so this is going to help that as well. What else do we need to hit, Rebecca?
Honestly, I'm looking at my little list I had, and I think we hit them all. I loved the questions. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys for, asking questions and, following us along on this on this
Yeah.
discussion. I know we've kind of been
We
all
bounced
all
all over the
place.
place, but it was a good
Yeah.
discussion.
Exactly.
Yeah, we hit the key. We talked about codes and standards, talked about the UL listings, the National Electrical Code requirements. We talked about the neutral. You
Yeah.
can't put power over the equipment grounding conductor. We have some code references for everybody. We talked about the safety role of these devices, being able to turn lights on and off, which is a safety home awareness when you're remote. Alexa can tell you things. We learned how to mute Alexa. She's still red over there. Technology. We talked about the technology. We are a wireless. We're not. We do have Bluetooth just for configuration, but it's wireless. It's Ethernet, and communicating back to a hub.
Right, right. So we have, our Wi-Fi devices
Yep.
connects to Wi-Fi, Z-Wave Plus. Yes, you need a hub or a controller.
And
Yep.
we talked about the complexities of configuring your home with the different technologies. Sometimes you might need a hub or other apps like I don't have for a couple of my lights, I don't have a hub talking to my iHome. The iHome control talks wirelessly direct to my Alexa app, so to
Oh,
speak. So,
yeah, designing your kind of everyone's smart home is kind of a
yep,
personal experience, so everyone has to kind of determine what's best for them. But something with the Wi-Fi devices, they're simple enough for basically anyone to start with.
yep. And then trying to think of what else. We talked about configuring. We talked about the capabilities and all the different things there. We talked about security. Now, I am going to have. I'm looking at my calendar here because I created a calendar online because of all of this, but I do have application of wiring devices coming up with Ian Romeo.
Awesome. Yes. I
Yep.
will be tuning in.
Yeah, and I tell you, so that ought to be a good one. So Ian is coming up, and that's not till April 27th.
Great.
And I have another person who was like very happy that you were coming on today because she's going to be talking about it, home as a grid. So I've
Yes.
got Jennifer Plaskina.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
So
It's
so
great to start with the wiring devices, and she'll show you kind of the next viewpoint.
yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm trying to keep a calendar, and I know, residential stuff, and this is commercial too. We can use these in commercial applications. Do you see use in a commercial, like a commercial office or anything like that?
Um, it gets tricky, like maybe in like small offices, but I think for, more commercial buildings or larger office buildings, you're gonna want probably not Wi-Fi. You're gonna want, Z-Wave Plus or different protocols
Yeah.
because, you're probably gonna have way more devices um communicating, and Wi-Fi might be not the best for larger scale because again, these devices are connected to your Wi-Fi network. So at a certain point, your Wi-Fi network has kind of a maximum limit.
Okay. Yep. So this is more of a residential home
Yeah,
application. All right.
residential.
Cool.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. But awesome. It sounds like you have a lot of great speakers and
Yeah.
panelists.
So
All
I've
them.
got I have um, Christy McElhaney is going to do short circuit current ratings. I believe that's on the April 15th. So 15th, I got the safety disconnect switch. So this is going to be, and he was on Mr. O'Brien, Seth O'Brien. He's a rock star with regard to Factory Floor Fridays. So everybody who is on LinkedIn needs to search for pound Factory Floor Friday, all one word, just like you search for pound Eaton Tech Talk.
Yeah.
And Seth O'Brien's now, I mean, he's taking it to the next level. They're creating videos on the factory floor. Joe Bellantoni, you're welcome. We're closing up. So Joe Bellantoni, so these guys
Yeah.
are awesome. And this video again, it's on 3 different platforms, and it'll get a lot of views. So hopefully it was useful to people.
Hope so. I had a good time. So
Oh yeah, I had a good time.
appreciate
That's all that matters.
appreciate taking the time.
Yeah, we have fun, and then hopefully somebody learns something out of it. I learn uh, doing these events, and that's David Smith. I don't know if you know Dave. You know David, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course I know.
So David's like he's trying to branch out and learn all the other different products and lines, and so I've got him.
It's a great way to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've learned that the best way to learn about a product is to do a presentation on it.
Yeah.
Because if you in presentations are telling the story, and if you can make that presentation, you'll get a lot of questions that you probably won't be able to answer, but then you
You
record them
build
in your book
it.
and you
Yep.
research and answer them. So Moises Fuentes, thank you. We had Joe Bellantoni. Scott Taylor had to run. George Corey, Controlled. Yep. Al Teresi, another good guy. David Shapiro. We had some good people on here. Felix Sandoval. We were international. We had Japan. We had Colombia.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's
All over the place.
Has any homeowner ever tried installing Eaton PLC and Alexa application together to achieve a complex home automations? Oh, so Tamaki, what I
That's that's an interesting point. I don't know.
yeah, but you know what? She brings up a good point that you could
Yeah.
you could have like control in maybe I don't know if in this it could be a I don't know about a PLC, but if you could get the PLC to communicate like we use Wonderware or Iconics and those types of applications to be able to provide communications down to things like programmable logic controllers. That'd be kind of expensive for a home system. But if you think
Right.
about like my house with the automation, I've got different products that all communicate in their own world, and I've got all those apps put together. And yeah, it's disjointed, but I can get Alexa to turn things on and off. I have the if then this then that apps and things like that.
Right.
So there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up, Tamaki. I got new messages down here. So they do not have any listed devices for retrofit that can use the equipment grounding conductor. And I would say, Al, there used to be devices, and you could probably get like the occupancy sensors, but they violate the National Electrical Code now, and the NEC has really come out strong against that over the last few cycles. And you pointed out the 404.8 or 404 something section. I can't remember what section. In fact, you pointed it out. 404 this is what I
Two?
love about these, Rebecca. 404.22.
Oh, I
Yeah.
knew there was a two someone.
Yeah, it was up there. So 404.22 will tell you can't do that. So, you can't introduce current onto the equipment grounding conductor that would be quote unquote ungood. Um, The electronic lighting control switches that introduce current on the equipment grounding conductors shall be listed and marked for use in replacement or no. There's no you need this. You can't do for retrofit. I think what he's saying is in maybe it's in 408.22.
Or can you use for retrofit and just not new construction? I thought that's what it's saying.
Yeah, so what he's saying is there's an exception. It says electronic control switches that introduce current on the equipment grounding conductor shall be permitted for applications covered by 404.2c.
Yeah.
Exception. Electronic control switches that introduce current on the equipment grounding conductor shall be listed and marked for use in replacement or retrofit applications only. And you don't do that with these, right?
Yeah, no, these have to have a
Neutral.
neutral, but yeah, for what he cites, yes, you can technically, if there's other devices that use that, then you can put them in retrofit.
Yep. Yep. And Dave Shapiro is just pointing out that that was the exception. And David, it just dawned on me, and that's when I was reading. I'm like, boy, that sounds like very codese language, and I'm like, that's got to be the exception, and it is in 404.22. There is an exception for existing, and that's primarily, in my opinion, these are those occupancy sensor switches. When you get to switches that are this advanced, you're not
Yeah,
going to have that equipment grounding conductor leverage for existing
right,
installation.
right.
Yep. And granted, if I have a home that's older that I don't have that neutral, that would be a challenge. And yeah, see, he's seeing the exception, and there's a little
Yeah.
bit of a delay, especially more so on LinkedIn. So what I
Okay.
just responded to, he's not going to see that for about a minute.
Gotcha.
So he's saying C exemption 404.22. So he's still, yeah. So we got you, Al, and yeah, no, you're going to be buying. You're going to need a neutral for this. So for new installations, very easy to put in. For an existing installation,
Yeah.
that could present a challenge. So something to consider, Rebecca. If you want to go after those existing homes, buddy, you got to think about how
I
do you
know.
leverage the EGC.
Engineering is gonna. I'll talk to them tomorrow.
Yep. See, you can see Al's bringing it up. David Shapiro. I don't know. It looks like
People.
people are asking for it. Tell them inquiring minds want to know.
Yep.
And I put the link into this post so they can go out to Amazon.com, but they can also go to any Eaton supply house
Yes,
and get
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
But you,
It just launched last month, so
oh, it's that new.
it's pretty new. Yeah.
Wow, you know what's funny is I rarely get to know these products when they first get launched. In
Oh no, got
Yeah,
this one at
I'm glad I got this. So there was another product. I was with a customer, very large, heavy industrial safety coordinator for every plant across globally. And
Mhm.
I asked him, I said, what do you lose sleep over the most? And he said, the first panel board on the secondary of every transformer. So I thought, man, I said, and I understand why. It's because the overcurrent clearing device, you're relying on the primary device. And I said, boy, I wonder if you separated out the device separate from them. And he goes, yeah. He says, we do that. And I said, boy, I wonder if it would be really cool if we integrated the breaker with the transformer. And he's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And I had an engineering services guy with me, and we were going, boys. I said, I'll ask the product line, but if they say they can't do it, this engineering services will do anything, right? They'll make that product, they'll get it listed, and then we'll put it out there for sale. So I called the product manager, and I says, hey, I said, do you ever think about integrating the breaker with the transformer? And he goes, Tom, we released it 3 years ago. I had no clue.
You were a little behind. Well, on this one, on the voice dimmer, you're right there. You're
I'm
right
right
there.
there. So I'm only a month behind, so that's good. So
There
brand
you
new
go.
product. Brand new product.
Yep.
It's available and shipping and on Amazon or in the supply houses. And just Al and David Shapiro, if you're putting these in an older home and you don't have that neutral, you're going to need that neutral.
Great point. Great
Yeah.
point.
Cool beans. All right.
Awesome.
I don't have anything else, Rebecca. You?
I'm good. This was amazing, and I just want to thank you, Tom, for
No problem.
picking me and the voice dimmer with Alexa built in to kind of share the spotlight with you.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for the follow up on another product. So
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Stay
absolutely,
tuned. Stay
stay
tuned.
tuned as as Eaton takes over the connected world.
Yeah, the rest of the devices.
Absolutely. All right. So for everybody out there in YouTube land, LinkedIn land, and Facebook land, thanks for joining in. Thank you, David Shapiro, Al Teresi. God bless you, brother. Appreciate both of you. And Tamaki Ono, thank you. And hopefully you're holding the fort down in Japan. And I believe it's early morning in Japan right now. So it's like 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I think they're 12 hours or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But in any case, David Rodriguez, George, everybody out there, thank you. And God bless. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And Tamaki, thank you very much. So all that jazz. I'm gonna hit a button here, and it's gonna shut everything down. But I do want to give it a few seconds for this. Well, I can shut it down. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thank you, Rebecca. Stay on. And I'm going to hit the end button and we're going to kill the feed.
Will do. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. 3, 2, 1.